So now we have this creature that has been bound to the skeleton, and I want to create a basic rig for it. Right now the geometry follows the joints, and there's been some basic weight painting applied to it. But in order to create an actual rig, and we're going to create a very basic rig here, as with the intention of allowing us to have a bit more control over the character, to pose it and to animate it eventually. So to do that, I need to do some corrections to this, and I'm going to simply detach the skin from the joints. But if I have done some weight painting on it, I have done some but not really extensively. But still, I want to save it. So in order to save that, I'm going to select the geometry, and I'm going to say skin, and I'm going to export out the weight maps. And my weight maps are going to be images that are created by join by join. So in this case, it's going to be a 256 pixels on X and Y as an IFF format that will map how much influence that join specifically will be building over the geometry. So I'm going to say export, and it's going to ask me where I want it to be exported. So right now I'm going to just go under Maya and actually go to the right folder. I just went too far up. There is, and I'm going to save them under could be my data folder or your cache folder. I have a weight paint map folder there. I'm going to delete that one because I'm going to redo it. This one I just was a test that I did before, so I'm just going to delete that one. I'm going to create a new folder one more time. So I'm going to call it weight painting. Weight painting maps, and let me change that plus sign there. Ouch. Rename correctly. I don't want to just rename it. There we go. So I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna call it body weight paint, and I'm gonna save that file. As you see, it's gonna create 100 skin maps, meaning 100 joints are in my skeleton. So I'm gonna say yes, and you can see all those joints being built their own maps. So it takes a few seconds to go through all of them, and at the end of it, I'm done. So I should be able now to disconnect the geometry from that skeleton. And so I'm just going to say skin, unbind skin, and I'm going to open it up. I can, if I have not done any weight painting, I don't care, or if I'm going to modify the geometry because I need to add more edges or need to cut somewhere or fix something, then I have to delete history. There is no need to keep history. In this case, I'm not planning to modify the geometry. I'm going to simply correct some of the orientation of the joints. So I'm going to just say keep history. That will try to maintain my weight painting information. Still, I have a backup in case the backup of my weight maps, but in this case I'm going to just detach them, and you can see right away the joints have lost the color, and now I cannot move the geometry. Okay, so why did I do that? Why did I detach the geometry from the skeleton? One of the reasons is because the orientation of the joints. These joints were created, positioned, as we saw in a previous video, but I really didn't pay close attention to the orientation of the joints. So let me just show you what I mean by that. I'm going to select them all. I'm going to go to my component editor. I'm going to click on the question mark sign. And if you look at that XYZ is showing the orientation of those joints, where it's going to be going in the main direction, and for the most part they are consistent. You can see X going along the way, but in some cases, for example, if I go down the feet here, you see that some of them are all over the place, and that is not convenient. So I'm going to try to correct that initially by doing it using the skeleton orient joint tool. I'm going to open that up. I'm going to tell it to use the primary axis to be X, meaning along the chain of the hierarchy, X is going to be the main axis, and then the secondary was going to be Y, going to point it up in a positive direction in this case. So I'm going to say orient, and tells me that it did it, or it tried, but it found some that it couldn't do it. 28 of them didn't do it. So we'll see what that is. But let me try to see it one more time. I'm gonna select them all again and see what it did. So I'm gonna go and activate my, and especially the foot that had some issues. So you can see here that the toes, for example, have all of them have the orientation going correctly. The last joint usually doesn't do it, and we don't really care much about the last joint because the last joint won't be really having any influence on anything. It'll be the one that will be rotating will be this one, which is the one that I care to move the toe. Still, it couldn't, you know, the tool doesn't fix all of them. Like for example, this one, if I click on the center of it, you see the X is pointing in a different direction. So I'll try to correct that one by clicking in the center of it and using the rotation tool. I'm going to just place my J key. I'm going to just slightly rotate down the chain, making sure that I have it correctly fixed there. I'm holding my J key again, and that way X is pointing down the direction. I'm going to just try to fix it. Let me go to the side view to see if I can correct it on the side view. I'm going to press J one more time, and there we go. I don't think it did it. Let me double check. Pressing J, it did. Probably what I'm looking at is the Y in the other foot. So going back to that, I need to fix that one too. Yeah, that one is all over the place. So I'm going to just try to fix that one. So of course you want to try doing that as much as possible. Just looking at where the Y is. So I'm just going to go and click on that, grab my rotation tool, use my J, rotate it this way, making sure that is aligned. Let me see. Holding J again, and then I'm going to just try to keep Y going in the same direction as the other foot is, and then I'm going to go to the side view to correct X so that it aligns with the other foot. Now I got both feet or both ankles doing the same thing, and we're going to try to do that as much as possible on all locations so that you get the best possible angle for you to rotate. So you know, I leave it up to you for you to go identify those places like the ankles, or see where your hands are, or the fingers. Usually, for example, something like this one is a hard one because this one you don't know which one it's going to be, so probably you can try to simply to make it consistent by making X the main axis. This one I'm not too worried about because this one is actually not going to be moving anything, but still let me just try to do it quickly here. I'm just pressing F to try to make it, frame it, and I'm going to try to get pointed there a little bit. I'm going to point it right here and see where the X is going. Press J. It's a little bit better. It's not ideal, but it's a little bit better. Try to make it consistent with this one. So I'm going to bring X in this way, and I'm going to try to make, pressing J again, Z or Y pointing in that direction, roughly. I have Z pointing the other side. Actually it's fine. Okay, so so you need to go and correct the orientation of those that won't follow along, that you don't see X going along, and that you don't see the secondary axis being the one that gives you kind of the rotation axis for the part that you are looking at. So for now, I think that is a little bit better. That gives me a better solution of my rig, and then I can try to work with it. I could go and bind it right now and test it if I wanted, but I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to start building up the rig, and I'll leave the binding at the end of the whole process. So the rig is going to be made of a bunch of different controllers that are going to be manipulating the different parts of the body. So let me start by creating a controller for the main root of the character. I'm going to just simply just create a curve on the center of the world, and I'm going to use my move tool. I'm going to just press my V key to have a snapping, and then I'm going to just try to snap it to that joint where I'm holding V. So that makes it right there, and I'm going to rotate that object, and I'm going to scale it up. So that's going to allow me to have a way to click on the character from its root position. I'm going to get that there, and now I'm going to, the pivot point of that is in the center of the joint, so I'm going now to delete the history of that object, although it doesn't have any history. I'm going to rename it actually root control, and I'm going to now freeze transformation, meaning removing all these odd numbers here by saying modify freeze transformation, and you see everything goes back to 0 and 1 scale. Why do I do that? Because if I need to bring my character to the base pose, to the initial pose, I just simply need to type 0 and it'll go to that position. So I'm going to use that one. I'm going to create another controller for his spine, a couple of the spine, and maybe a couple for the neck. So let me do that. So I'm going to control D to duplicate that controller, and I'm going to press my V key to snap to the next one. I'm going to duplicate one more time, V key to snap to the next one, and that to duplicate, and V key to the next one. Make sure that you snap to the right location, and I'm going to, before I continue, so this one is going to be called spine 1 control, and then I'm going to just call this one spine 2 control, and this one I'll call it, oh hold on, this one didn't get correctly named, there we go. And then this one is going to be spine 3 underscore control G control, there we go. And actually I'm going to change the shape of some of these guys, so I'm going to just to do that, I'm going to turn off joints, I'm going to turn off geometry so I don't affect those. I'm going to control vertex here, I'm going to select the bottom of these vertexes, and then we'll just pull them down so they have enough chance to control them everywhere. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. Just select those vertexes, click on them here, and bring them down to make them a bit more visible, so that way I can control them a little bit better. This one seemed to be doing what it needs to be doing. I can just bring it down, bring down the top ones a little bit there maybe, and I'm going to grab that same one. I'm going to just create a duplicate for my neck. So I'm going to just go and create, holding V, duplicate again, and then holding V to the next one on the neck. Make sure that it's snapping to the right location. That one didn't snap to the right location, so holding V to the center of the joint, and this one too, holding V to the center of the joint. Those actually I'm going to just start rotating them so that I can bring them to follow along the neck. I'm going to just grab that one, and then I just duplicated it and snapped it to the other joint, and I'm going to just do another one to control the head. There we go. So I have those there, And the last one, that one is going to control the head. I'm going to create one extra one to control the jaw. I'll do that one in a little bit. Let me correct this one's first, because these guys are a little too big. So I'm going to try to select them all right now. I'm going to use my scale tool and the usual scale down in place, because they're not grouped or anything. So I can just scale them down a tiny bit more, so until I kind of just not need to use that one a little bit larger maybe. And that one is not pivoting correctly, so let me just move it again to the right location. So you gotta make sure they are on the joint. And I'm going to just simply correct this one. There we go. Rename this one. This is going to be called neck 01 or 01. This one is going to be neck, just put it here, neck underscore 02 control. I'll copy that, and this one's going to be 03 control, and this one's going to actually could be called head control. Okay, so so I have those right there. I need to do the same thing for the tail, so let me just duplicate this guy. I'm gonna snap it quickly to that one. I can hide the geometry, that way my geometry doesn't keep bugging me. And I'm just gonna duplicate those quickly there. Duplicate, and duplicate. And those I'll need to rotate to make them follow. Actually, let me do them all at once, to let them follow the chain a little bit better, meaning following the orientation of that tail a little bit better. This guy is going to be called tail 01 control. Copy. I'm going to change the name of this one. This is going to be 02. 03. This is a little bit time consuming, but it makes things a little bit easier when you're animating, because you're gonna be you don't want to be animating selecting joints. That is really difficult. 05, I believe. Okay, so I have those there. Now I need to make sure that I have all of them have a 0 value, because all of them have to be the same. So I have to go and select them all. Make sure that I grab them all. I think I grabbed the one, but I'm gonna just do it again. There we go. I got all of them. I'm gonna say modify freeze transformations. That way all of them become 0 out again, which would be the binding pose. Let me do a quick one for the mouth. For the mouth, I'm going to duplicate this one, because this one I wanted to be able to move the jaw. So I'm going to just put one right there maybe, and the jaw is going to be controlled by this guy, but it's going to be a little too difficult for me to try to place it there. So I can try to putting it right there maybe if I wanted to. Let me see. I'm going to just maybe hold my V key and put it right there, and then I'm going to just simply scale it up, maybe rotate it a little bit so that it goes with the jaw scale. There we go. I'm going to just flatten it this way so that it looks similar to the jaw, and then I'm going to just simply maybe grab those vertices back there, not that, this one and that one, and I'm going to try to bring them forward and down so they can become a new way of clicking on it. Let's see, this is the one that is There we go. If you feel that that will work for you, you can have it that way. Still the pivot point is back there. All the other option I can have is simply just to detach some vertices by selecting the curve point and erasing them somewhere. Let's see if I can show them. I have, let's see, that one and that one, and I can just simply try to, under modeling, I can try to say under curves, detach. That shouldn't do it. That didn't do it actually. Curve point, edit point, maybe. There it is. That's the one. This one and that one. It's not really the shape. Is not important. What is important is what I mean by the shape. I mean the shape of the controller. Doesn't matter. So I selected those by selecting by edit point. Oops, not that. One more time. Edit point. So I have selected that one and selected that one. I'm gonna try one more time on the curves, detach. Alright, that should have done it a little bit differently, I guess. Now I can just get rid of that one so I have one only. But that one has the pivot point where I want it to be and the center of that controller. This one I call it jaw control. And I'm gonna freeze transformations on that one. So all the values go back to 0. So now we have that, and we are almost ready to start connecting them to the rest of the skeleton.